Hello, happy Sunday,
Hi, happy
everybody.
Sunday, everybody.
Just to introduce myself, my name is Tyson Peterson. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm also an author. This is my third video installment about the doctrine surrounding the New Jerusalem. It's a very important doctrine to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and it's part of the book that I'm going to have coming out through Cedar Fort Publishing, Jackson County Building Zion. That'll be available to purchase early next year. And just to explain that simply, when Christ returns to the earth, again, this is one of the places that he will reign from in Jackson County, Missouri. So the first video 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Moses relates to this doctrine and how we can consider ourselves like the people of Moses and whether we'll be ready and waiting for this beautiful city to be built or if we'll be busy doing other things. Last week we talked about the kind of people that'll be in this area, the kind of qualities that they'll possess, and the different commandments that they will be following. So this week I wanted to talk more about the actual land to help you get more of a picture of what this area could be like and kind of some measurements and some things that we do know. So this first slide, you've seen this as a thumbnail for my other two videos if you've watched that. This says Adam on Diamond. And why this is important, it was revealed through our prophets that this is where Adam and Eve went to after leaving the Garden of Eden, and also where Adam met with his posterity. And it's very important to the doctrine of the New Jerusalem, as well as this will be a meeting site where Adam will be present and Jesus Christ, our Savior, will be present, and many righteous servants will be there as well, as they will give a report of their service and hand over the keys and responsibilities back over to the Savior. So this site is 3,000 acres. It's about 5 miles south of Jameson, Missouri. So that's one of the important areas for this doctrine about Zion, the New Jerusalem. Okay, this slide here, I want you to just be aware of a few things because we're going to talk about ownership a little bit here in a minute. I know some of this might be a little hard to read, so I'm going to point out just a few areas here. So kind of this middle left section here, that says Temple Lot. This is a 2-acre site in Independence, Missouri, where the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a dedicated monument here where this will be a Temple Lot. Then just to the right of that, you can kind of see this big white spiral building. That's the community of church building. This is kind of part of an area that'll change. So right below that, you can see there's kind of this gray building here. This is the LDS Independence Visitors Center, another important area here. So just kind of get a picture in your mind of these different places here. This is the Church of Christ Auditorium. So you can kind of see different religions and ownership here. So this next slide I want to show you is the Independence Temple Lot dedication stone. So if you can see on the stone here, it says spot for temple dedicated by Joseph Smith on August 3rd, 1831. And as you can see, this was 63.27 acres. So I want to talk about that just a little bit. On August 3rd, Joseph Smith dedicated this area, but the government had not made that land available for purchase at that time. So in December of 1831, they did make that available, and that's when Edward Partridge, an early saint from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he purchased 63.27 acres. So before we move on to this, I just want you to remember that slide before, um, where the ownership has definitely changed hands. The Church of Christ owns part of those 63 acres. Um, they, along with our church, own the biggest portions of that 63 acres. So this is kind of an interesting drawing that I want to point out. This is actually an original plat idea written up by Joseph Smith. So this was drawn out on June 25th, 1833. And you can kind of see there's some writing here written on the side. What that describes is that talks about how there's going to be 24 temples within this 63 acre area, and how those correspond to the quorums and functions of the priesthood. So 12 of the temples relate to the Melchizedek priesthood, and the other 12 relate to the Aaronic priesthood. So for those of you that aren't familiar, the priesthood is the power of God given to man on earth to act in his behalf. And there are two types. The Melchizedek priesthood, which bishops, high priests, elders, they hold the Melchizedek priesthood, and the Aaronic priesthood, the deacons, teachers, priests. So different duties, different offices within that priesthood. So it's not too great a drawing, but I want you to just think in your mind, this represents 24 temples, and they're going to relate to the priesthood. So other than those 24 temples, there is going to be a great wall that'll surround this New Jerusalem. That'll be in Independence, Missouri. So we don't know too much about the nature of this wall, but there is a little bit of information we get from the book of Revelations. So in Revelations 21, 12 through 14, it says it had a great high wall with 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels. And on the gates the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel were inscribed. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. So you can kind of see how that wall also relates to the priesthood and to our church. How the gates will have the names of the 12 tribes of Israel inscribed on them. And also it'll have the names of the apostles. So a little bit more about the measurement of this wall. In Revelation 21, 15 through 21, we kind of learned that it'll be about 1,380 miles long on each side, as well as in height. So definitely a massive, massive wall. And it measured 144 cubits, which likely was describing its thickness, which would be about 216 feet thick. So as a reference, this picture actually here to the right is a picture of the Vatican City Wall. If you have been there, you can kind of imagine that wall, which was 39 feet tall and 2 miles long and 11 feet thick. So just to compare it to that, this is going to be a great wall that will be surrounding these 24 temples. Now this last slide that I wanted to show you was kind of a picture of Independence, Missouri today. So my point today is to help put a picture in your mind of what this area may be like. As you can see, Independence, Missouri today, definitely a beautiful city, different buildings there, very beautiful city. So I want you to kind of imagine the changes that'll take place with the 24 temples that'll be there, this great wall that'll surround the city. Also the area of Adam-ondi-Ahman, where we will have this great meeting with the Savior. So as we continue talking about Zion, the New Jerusalem, in these weekly videos, I hope that you will submit your questions to me. We'll try to answer those the best that we can, and we'll try to talk about the things that interest you about this doctrine. And um, I hope that as well you can kind of imagine yourself being here someday. Whether you're there in the city as one of those righteous members or not. I hope you know how important this area will be, and that we treat it the way that we should. So again, thank you for joining me, and we will see you next week when we talk a little bit more about Zion, the New Jerusalem, and another piece of that doctrine.